There's a psalm that opens the gates of money faster than any bank on earth. For 7 days, if you speak it as I will show you, divine supply will move swiftly, silently, without struggle straight into your hands. I've seen it work for those with nothing but faith, and I've watched money appear from directions they never imagined. You see, this isn't about religion. It's about spiritual law. And for the next 7 days, that law will work for you. In this lesson, I will teach you how to use one single psalm, the Psalm of Provision, to call money into form by divine law. You will learn to speak the word that multiplies supply, dissolves debt, and restores circulation to every area of your life. You'll see why most prayers for money fail, and how 7 days of right speech can reverse years of limitation. You won't be repeating words in vain, you'll be commanding the substance of spirit to flow. By the end of this video, you will know how to speak in harmony with God's own law of prosperity. And once you do, you will never speak in lack again. I know the feeling of waiting for money that never seems to come, watching bills pile up, praying for relief, wondering if heaven has gone silent. But heaven never ignores faith. It only waits for the right vibration. Most people beg for supply, yet their words carry fear, not power. The psalm I'm about to give you corrects that vibration. It trains your words to speak with divine certainty. When spoken daily for 7 days, it clears the channel between you and your good. This is not superstition. It's spiritual science. The same invisible law that brings the tides, that makes seeds grow, that orders the stars, also orders your prosperity. And that law will respond to your voice when you speak this psalm. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the psalm that releases divine supply faster than anything I've ever witnessed. You will learn how to speak it not as repetition, but as command. We will explore its hidden pattern, its rhythm, and the 7-day cycle that activates its power. You will hear the testimony of those who used it, men and women who had nothing but their word and faith, and who found their good arriving overnight. We will talk about the spiritual law that governs this psalm, the law of circulation, the law of gratitude, and the law of divine preparation. By the end of this teaching, you will not only know the words, you will feel the vibration of wealth moving toward you. So stay with me, because 7 days from now, you will not be wondering where your supply is. You will be watching it flow. There's something most people completely miss when they read the Psalms. They see them as poetry, as comfort, as prayers to calm the heart, but not as spiritual commands that move the invisible into form. Yet that's exactly what they are. Every line of scripture is a divine decree hidden in rhythm, vibration, and sacred sound. The words were never meant to be whispered in fear or recited in routine. They were meant to be spoken as law. When I discovered this, the entire way I read the Psalms changed. They stopped being words about God and became words from God. Laws that govern health, harmony, and yes, even money. The psalm I'm about to share with you is one of those laws in motion. One of those verses that doesn't just talk about supply, but opens it. It is the psalm that breaks the illusion of lack, restores flow, and calls money from the invisible storehouse of spirit straight into visible form. Now, this next part might sound simple, but simplicity is divine power disguised. The psalm I speak of is Psalm 23. You've heard it countless times. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But have you ever spoken it not as comfort but as command? Have you ever said it as one who knows that when you speak, law moves? That line is the entire principle of supply contained in one sentence. It declares, I am guided, guarded, and provided for. I do not chase good. It follows me. It's not a request. It's a decree of alignment. And when spoken for 7 consecutive days with unwavering faith, that decree reorders your world. Here's why. Every word we speak carries vibration. Words are not flat, they are alive. When you speak the word of truth, you vibrate in harmony with the very source that created the world. the Psalms were written in divine rhythm. Every repetition, every poetic cadence was designed to activate both sides of consciousness, the mind and the soul. When you speak them aloud, you're not simply repeating words. You're awakening energy, directing the invisible substance of life. Your voice is the conductor's baton, and the universe is the orchestra waiting for your cue. Let me show you how this works. Years ago, a woman came to me desperate and defeated. She had 8 left to her name, and fear had taken hold of her mind. She said, "Florence, I've tried everything. I've prayed. I've begged. I've done affirmations, but nothing works." I said, "You have spoken fear with more conviction than faith. Now you will speak truth." I gave her Psalm 23 and told her for 7 days, speak this aloud morning and night. Don't ask for money. Declare your alignment with supply. She followed that instruction. On the 3rd day, she felt an unusual peace. On the 5th, she found herself thanking God before she saw any change. By the 7th day, she received unexpected money, a sum far beyond what she imagined. She came back radiant, saying, "It worked like magic." But I told her, it wasn't magic, it was law. You see, the moment you say, "I shall not want," you cut the root of fear. Want implies separation from your good, and separation is the great illusion. In divine mind, there is no want. There is only supply waiting for recognition. When you speak the psalm, you are recognizing that truth. You are saying the source and I are one. I am guided into prosperity and I cannot be lost. 7 days is all it takes because 7 is the number of divine completion. It's the pattern by which all creation unfolds. 7 days of creation, 7 notes in a scale, 7 colors in light. After 7 days of speaking truth, the new pattern is sealed in your consciousness, and your world must reflect it. Now let's talk about the rhythm of these 7 days. On day 1, you speak to awaken faith. On day 2, you begin to feel peace. By day 3, resistance starts to crumble. Old fears rise only to fall. By day 4, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. You feel lighter, freer. On day 5, the outer world starts to rearrange. Opportunities, invitations, ideas appear. By day 6, something moves in your heart, certainty. And on day 7, manifestation begins to show, often quietly, naturally, as if it had been waiting all along. This is not coincidence. It's law unfolding in order. And here's what most people never understand. You don't repeat the psalm to convince God. You repeat it to convince yourself. Repetition is how you retrain the mind. The subconscious accepts as true whatever it hears often enough. It cannot distinguish between fact and faith. So when you speak words of truth for 7 consecutive days, you override years of fearful thinking. You create a new groove in consciousness, and prosperity flows through that groove like a river through its channel. I remember one of my students, a man burdened with debt, saying, "Florence, I've said the words, but I don't feel anything." I told him, "Then speak until you do. Feeling follows faith, not the other way around." He obeyed. By the end of the week, his entire attitude had changed. He spoke with gratitude. He walked with peace. Within days, payments began to arrive, and one of his largest debts was unexpectedly canceled. The words had done their work. They had turned thought into form, sound into substance. Now I want to show you something even deeper. Every psalm carries a hidden frequency. And Psalm 23 vibrates with the energy of gratitude. Gratitude is the great magnet of supply. It is the acknowledgement that the good you desire already exists. Gratitude turns invisible substance into visible blessing. When you say, "My cup runneth over," you are not describing your life as it is. You are declaring the truth of divine overflow. And the universe, obedient to law, must match that vibration. Gratitude is faster than labor, stronger than worry, and more certain than logic. It is the language of faith. So here is what I ask you to do. For 7 days, speak Psalm 23 aloud each morning and night. Do not rush. Feel each phrase as though you were feeding your soul. When you say, "He maketh me to lie down in green pastures," feel peace replacing tension. When you say, He restoreth my soul, feel your faith rise. When you say, My cup runneth over, smile, because the law has already obeyed. You are not trying to make something happen. You are witnessing what already is. Now that you understand the psalm as a living law, and your word as the command that moves substance, let us go deeper. Because it's not enough to speak the word. You must also learn how the law of circulation works through it. Money flows like a river, and your word is what keeps that river moving. Here's something most people completely miss about money. It isn't a thing you earn or chase or deserve. It's a flow of energy, a current of divine substance, always moving, always alive. Money is spirit in motion, taking form to serve you, to clothe you, to feed you, to fulfill the divine law of supply. The same power that moves the ocean tide moves through your finances. The same circulation that sends breath in and out of your body sends money in and out of your life. And when that flow stops, when the river runs dry, it isn't because God withheld. It's because fear built a dam. Fear is the great stopper of circulation. The moment you worry, you tighten the current. The moment you say, I don't have enough, you cut the flow in half. But the moment you speak truth, the moment you declare, my cup runneth over, the current surges again, unstoppable, generous, precise. That is the law of circulation. What you speak in faith must return multiplied. You see, this is what I call divine arithmetic, God's perfect system of balance. You give and you receive. You bless and you are blessed. You circulate love and love surrounds you. You circulate fear and fear multiplies. Every thought, every word, every emotion is a coin you spend in the invisible marketplace of law. When you speak the psalm daily, you are not only calling money forth, you are restoring the entire rhythm of divine flow. You are opening your inner gates, so that spirit can circulate freely again through your affairs. I often tell my students you cannot take in air unless you exhale. You cannot receive a new blessing while clinging to an old one. This is where so many fail. They pray for new good while holding tight to fear, resentment, or guilt. The law of circulation cannot move through a closed heart. The psalm teaches resistance not through effort but through faith. When you say, The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, you are declaring that you are guided by abundance itself. That the energy of supply flows through you like water through an open channel. Let me tell you about a woman I once knew who held tightly to every penny. She was afraid of spending, afraid of giving, afraid of losing. She said to me, Florence, I can't let go because I'll never get it back. I said, Then you have turned money into your master instead of your servant. I taught her the law of circulation. I said, Every time you spend, say this, every dollar I spend blesses and returns to me multiplied under grace. She looked at me skeptically but promised to try. Within 2 weeks, she came to me radiant. She said, I've been spending in faith, and everything I release returns tenfold. The fear had left her, and money flowed again. It wasn't the money that changed, it was her vibration. She had stepped back into circulation. The same is true for every soul listening to me now. You cannot stop the flow of life and still expect prosperity. You cannot speak of shortage and still live in abundance. When you speak words of faith, the dam breaks. You feel it, don't you? That quiet ease that comes when you stop trying to control everything. That is the river moving again. Now let's talk about what happens when you speak the psalm with awareness. Each line acts as a spiritual key, opening a gate through which divine energy moves. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. That's the relaxation of the mind. When you relax, your energy expands and flow returns. He leadeth me beside the still waters. That's emotional calm, the peace that restores circulation. He restoreth my soul. That's spiritual renewal, the power that replenishes the inner current. And when you say, My cup runneth over, that's the overflow, the abundance released when all resistance dissolves. Money follows attention. It listens for command. If you constantly tell it, I never have enough, it obeys you faithfully and withholds. If you bless it, speak to it as a living servant of spirit, it obeys that too. It multiplies. That's why I say talk to your money as you would talk to a friend. Say, you are divine substance, you always return multiplied. You bless me as I bless others. This isn't fantasy. It's law. The vibration of love attracts more to love. The vibration of fear repels what it clings to. I once had a student, a musician, who hadn't had work in months. He loved his art but feared his bills. I told him to begin each day by saying aloud Psalm 23, and to bless his money with gratitude, even the coins in his pocket. I said, don't see lack. See circulation. He laughed at first but obeyed. On the fourth day, he was called to perform in a concert he hadn't even auditioned for. The payment he received cleared his debts and left him with extra to give. He said, Florence, it felt like the universe suddenly remembered me. I told him, no. My dear, you remembered yourself. You remembered that you are one with the source that never forgets. This is what the psalm does. It restores memory. It reminds you that wealth is not earned. It's inherited. It belongs to you by divine right. But you must speak the word that keeps it moving. You must let go of fear and allow flow. You must give as freely as you wish to receive. Now I can hear some of you saying, but Florence, I can't give when I barely have. And I say to you that's exactly when you must give. Giving is not about the amount. It's about the faith behind it. When you give from fear, you reduce. When you give from faith, you multiply. If all you have is a kind word, give that. If all you have is a smile, give that. The law sees no difference between money and energy. It counts only vibration. The universe is a mirror reflecting whatever you send out. When you speak lack, it says, as you wish. When you speak abundance, it says, and so it is. This is why the psalm must be spoken daily, not as repetition, but as rhythm. Every day you speak it, you realign the current. Every morning you open the gate a little wider. By the seventh day, the river has become unstoppable. Now that the river of divine supply has begun to move through your life, you will notice something interesting. Sometimes, just as the current begins to flow, resistance rises. Appearances may test your faith. Things might seem to fall apart right before the miracle arrives. Don't be troubled. That's the purification stage. There is always a moment. Once the word has been spoken, and the current begins to move, when the appearance of contradiction arrives, it is the law asking, do you really believe what you just said? It happens to every soul who dares to speak truth into form. The moment you declare, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, the old vibration of lack begins to crumble. And when it crumbles, it can look like chaos. It can look like bills piling up, opportunities slipping away, people misunderstanding you, doors closing that once seemed open. But these are not signs of failure. They are signs of movement. They are the proof that the old consciousness is dying, and that divine order is rearranging the outer world to match your new declaration. You are not being punished. You are being purified. You are walking through the sacred test of faith. This test is holy ground. It is the invisible furnace where the old you burns away, and the new you rises clothed in power. Every spiritual demonstration passes through this fire. Faith is not proven in comfort. It is proven in contradiction. When everything seems still, you can afford to believe. But when the storm rises, that is when you must stand. The psalm is not meant to shield you from appearances. It is meant to anchor you in truth until appearances yield. So when you feel that tension, when the mind begins to question, do not say, why is this happening? Say, my word is working. Let me tell you a story. A woman once came to me trembling with fear. She had been affirming abundance for days, and then suddenly her employer announced layoffs. She thought the law had betrayed her. She said, Florence, I've done everything right, but now I might lose my job. I said, my dear, this is your demonstration beginning. The old channel must close for the new one to open. Don't hold on to the door that's shutting. Bless it and stand still. She obeyed. She continued to speak her psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, and refused to fear. Within a week, she was offered a new position. One that paid more, demanded less, and gave her peace. The layoff wasn't punishment. It was promotion disguised as loss. That's how divine order works. It removes before it replaces. It clears before it fills. It ends before it begins. You must remember this. The invisible is always ahead of the visible. When you speak the word, it moves through spirit first, then mind, then matter. The outer world is slow to catch up. And in that space of transition, fear tries to return. That's the test to hold your vibration steady when the senses shout, impossible. The psalm becomes your anchor in that storm. Every time you feel doubt, repeat, I shall not want. Every time the mind whispers lack, declare, my cup runneth over. Faith is not denial. It is insistence on the higher truth. You are not ignoring appearances. You are commanding them to align. And you must understand, the greater your desire, the greater the purification. If you have spoken a mighty word, the universe will shake to make room for it. The old structures of fear must collapse, so that abundance can stand where lack once lived. Don't confuse shaking with breaking. The earthquake doesn't destroy, it shifts. I once taught a man who had been struggling with debt. He affirmed daily that his supply was endless. And just as he began to feel hope, he received notice that his largest payment was due immediately. He panicked, came to me and said, Florence, why now? I was beginning to believe. I smiled and said, this is your test. Say the word and stand still. He did. He walked home repeating, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. That night, a friend he hadn't spoken to in years called him and said, I felt compelled to help you. Do you need anything? The exact amount he needed was given to him under grace. The moment he passed the test, the supply appeared. Faith had done its perfect work. During the 7-day psalm practice, you may feel the test arrive around the 4th or 5th day. That's when the old patterns start to lose grip, and fear fights back for attention. Don't argue with it. Don't wrestle with appearances. Bless them. Bless the noise as proof that your word has stirred the unseen. Then return to your psalm. The rhythm of those words will steady your energy again. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. The still waters are peace, the peace that proves you've stopped striving. Once you reach that stillness, everything begins to rearrange itself naturally. Now here's something you must know. Praise is your strongest weapon during the test. When fear tries to rise, praise louder. Say, thank you, God, that my good is unfolding in perfect ways. Praise confuses the vibration of lack because lack feeds on attention. When you praise, you lift the frequency so high that fear can't breathe in it. The moment you feel gratitude for what hasn't yet appeared, it rushes to appear. Gratitude is the magnet that pulls miracles into view. So if you find yourself in the middle of your 7-day test, if you see the storm rising just as the promise begins to glimmer, remember this truth: the storm is not your enemy. It's your initiation. It's the moment you step out of theory and into power. Don't beg God to calm the sea. Stand in your boat and speak peace. Say, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Speak it until the waves remember who you are. Speak it until the wind becomes your servant. And when the test passes, and it always passes, you'll look back and see that what you feared was never real. It was only shadow. It had no substance, no staying power. You'll laugh, as I have many times, and say, I was walking through the valley of the shadow of lack, and I feared no evil, for thou art with me. The valley is shadow. Your word is light. The shadow flees the moment the light speaks. Now there comes a time, once the tests are behind you, and the fear begins to fade, when something within you shifts forever. You stop trying to make money appear, and you start realizing that it was never missing. You stop pleading for opportunities, and you begin to see that every day is already rich with them. You stop measuring your life by what you have or don't have, and you start measuring it by the peace that lives behind everything. That is the rhythm of divine supply, the quiet, steady pulse of spirit moving through your days. The inner knowing that you are never without, because you are one with the source of all that is. It is a rhythm that can't be forced or faked. It comes only after faith has been tested and proven. It arrives like the stillness after a storm, when the waters stop thrashing and begin to shimmer with light. In that stillness, you finally understand that abundance isn't something you create. It's something you remember. Most people live by struggle because they live by separation. They believe that God is somewhere far away deciding who gets what, when, and how much. They think they must hustle for every blessing, fight for every opportunity, and beg for every provision. And so they exhaust themselves chasing what is already theirs by divine right. But when you begin to live in rhythm with divine law, you stop chasing. You stop running after things and start allowing them to come. You speak your word. You hold your faith. And you let the law do the work. You become like the earth in spring, still, receptive, ready to blossom. I often tell my students, you can't speak abundance while living in hurry. Hurry is fear disguised as effort. When you hurry, you declare, I don't believe time will be enough. I don't believe supply will be enough. But when you are calm, when you move at the pace of faith, you declare, everything I need will arrive exactly when it should. That calmness is your magnetic field. It draws your good without struggle. The psalm says, He leadeth me beside the still waters. The still waters represent divine rhythm, the quiet flow of good without anxiety, without strain. Still waters do not mean stagnant waters. They move, but they move without chaos. That is how prosperity flows, when you are aligned with spirit effortlessly, continuously, joyfully. There was a man once who came to me after years of fighting life. He had clawed his way through business, competition, worry, sleepless nights. He said, Florence, I've worked harder than anyone I know, but I'm always one step behind. I said to him, Stop working so hard in the wrong direction. Stop fighting the river. Float. He didn't understand at first. He said, Do you mean do nothing? I said, I mean stop struggling. Work from inspiration, not desperation. I told him to start each morning with this affirmation. I live in the substance of abundance. Everything I do prospers because divine intelligence works through me. Within weeks, his life began to shift. He didn't get new opportunities immediately. Rather, his energy changed. He began to speak with calm confidence instead of panic. And soon, opportunities started appearing, effortless connections, divine coincidences, open doors he hadn't even knocked on. He came back and said, I feel like something invisible is helping me. I said, It always was. You just stopped pushing it away. Living in divine rhythm means you are no longer moved by appearances. You bless what is before your eyes, knowing that behind every visible condition is the invisible perfection waiting to show itself. You no longer complain about bills. You bless them knowing they represent circulation. You no longer fear spending. You bless your money knowing it returns multiplied under grace. You no longer worry about competition. You bless others' success, knowing that their good can only increase your own. In divine rhythm there is no envy, no resentment, no comparison, only flow. Gratitude becomes your heartbeat. You thank before you receive, because you know that the act of thanking is itself the receipt. You say, Thank you, God, that my supply is already here, even if your eyes have not yet seen it. Gratitude is not politeness. It is spiritual recognition. It says, I know this is already done. Every time you give thanks, you vibrate in harmony with divine substance. Every time you complain, you vibrate in discord. Gratitude multiplies. Complaint divides. It's that simple. So I tell my students to give thanks constantly. Thank for what you have. Thank for what is coming. Thank for what is leaving. Even loss can be blessed, because it always clears the way for greater good. Now let's talk about speech. For speech is the way you stay in rhythm. Every word you speak either harmonizes or disrupts the divine current. When you speak from worry, you create ripples of resistance. When you speak from confidence, you create ripples of manifestation. Your daily declarations are not empty. They are tuning forks for reality. Every morning, speak your psalm as command. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Every evening, close your day with release. Thank you, God, that all is well and working together for my good. During the day, guard your language. Do not say, it's coming easily under grace. Do not say, money is tight. Say, money flows freely to me now. These small shifts in speech keep your vibration aligned with truth. The tongue is the rudder of the ship. It determines the direction of the voyage. The more you practice this, the lighter you become. You will find yourself laughing at things that once made you anxious. You'll feel calm in situations that used to shake you. That's the sign of alignment, peace without evidence. The moment you feel peace, manifestation has already begun. Peace is proof that the law is in operation. You don't wait for the outcome to feel peace. You feel peace and the outcome follows. And now, beloved soul, we come to the close of this journey. The sealing of your word, the covenant between you and the infinite law of supply. The covenant is not a contract written in ink, nor an oath spoken under pressure. It is the silent knowing between your spirit and God's spirit that you are one. It is the realization that every good thing that has ever been, is now, and ever shall be, is already yours in the invisible, and is made visible through your spoken faith. This covenant does not begin when you finish your 7 days. It begins the moment you decide to believe. These 7 days are not a countdown. They are an awakening, a sacred rhythm of remembrance. For within 7 days, the law completes its work of renewal. The old pattern of lack dissolves. The new pattern of abundance is written upon the walls of your consciousness. And your life begins to hum with the same vibration as heaven itself. So as we stand at this threshold together, I ask you to breathe deeply and remember everything we have spoken. The psalm that carries divine rhythm. The word that commands substance. The test that refines faith. The flow that restores circulation. The realization that you and the infinite are one mind in action. This is your covenant. You are now a conscious participant in divine supply. From this moment forward, you will never again speak from fear, for fear is a lie about God. You will never again beg, for begging denies the oneness that already is. You will never again look to outer means as your source, for the source of all supply is within. You are now a keeper of the word, a custodian of creative speech, and a living channel through which spirit moves freely. Let me gather the threads into one strong cord. The psalm was never about money alone. It was about remembrance. It was the divine mind using words to call you back to yourself, to show you that all provision, all peace, all prosperity, all power live within you because they live in God. Money is only the shadow of divine supply, a mirror reflecting the state of your inner abundance. When the shadow increases, it's because the light within you has grown brighter. When it fades, it's because fear has dimmed the flame. But even then, the flame never goes out. It waits for you to speak again, for your word to reignite the rhythm. I have said throughout this lesson that God is never late, and I say it once more now. There is no delay in divine mind. All delay is mental misalignment. Once you realign, the floodgates open. Many will find that by the end of the 7th day, visible evidence of supply will have appeared, unexpected checks, opportunities, gifts, new energy, clear intuition. But even if it takes a day longer, a week longer, do not waver. You are not waiting on time. You are living in eternity where everything already exists. The good you desire is finished, complete, and waiting for your recognition. Speak that psalm until your recognition becomes reality. And then keep speaking, not to make it happen, but to celebrate that it has. You may say, Florence, what if I forget? What if fear returns? And I will tell you gently it will. Fear will knock again as it always does, dressed in different disguises. But now you know what to do. You will not open the door. You will bless it and speak truth. You will say, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. And the vibration of those words will close that door softly and completely. This covenant is not a vow of perfection. It is a promise of remembrance. Every time you remember, the law resumes its perfect work. Let us then seal this teaching with a final declaration, a spoken word of power that affirms your union with the infinite flow of abundance. Repeat after me with calm assurance, not as a plea, but as truth already lived. I am one with the infinite, and the infinite is one with me. My supply is inexhaustible. My prosperity is sure. My peace is eternal. Every word I speak is law, and the law responds instantly in perfect ways. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. My cup runneth over, and divine love now restores to me everything I thought I had lost. Money flows to me easily and continuously under grace and in perfect order. Every need is met before I even ask. Every door I knock upon opens wide. I live in the rhythm of divine supply, and I walk in peace all the days of my life. Say that each morning when you waken again, before sleep for 7 days and beyond. Speak it as a reminder, not a request. You are not trying to convince the universe. It already knows who you are. You are simply reminding your mind of its own divinity. Now, as this covenant settles within you, I want you to feel gratitude rising. Not the gratitude of relief, but the gratitude of realization. Feel how light your heart is now that you no longer have to chase good. Feel how strong your spirit is now that you no longer believe in lack. Feel how natural prosperity feels when you stop resisting it. You are no longer the seeker. You are the answer. Every word you speak is seed, and the harvest is certain. The psalm was the beginning, but this rhythm is forever. Carry it into your days, your work, your relationships, your rest. Let it color the way you think about everything. When you receive, bless it. When you give, bless it. When you spend, bless it. When you see others prosper, bless them. For their abundance proves the law is working for you as well. Live from the consciousness of completion, and the visible will always mirror the invisible. And when life offers its inevitable surprises, when the winds of change blow strong, remember the shepherd of the psalm. Remember that divine order guides every step, that you cannot be lost, that even in uncertainty, you are led beside still waters. This covenant does not protect you from life, it aligns you with life's perfection. You will still grow, still learn, still expand, but you will do so with grace, not struggle. You will no longer ask, when will my good come? Because you will have discovered the secret of the ages your good never left. It was waiting for your word. So as you step out into this next moment, speak softly to yourself with that same rhythm that began this journey. Say it once for memory. Say it twice for rhythm. Say it thrice for mastery. And then say nothing more. Let the silence complete the sentence. For in that silence, the law moves and your world obeys. And though our 7 days have come to their end in number, in truth, they have only just begun in spirit. For divine law does not count by clocks or calendars. It moves by consciousness, by recognition, by the eternal pulse of the soul. You have now entered the timeless rhythm where giving and receiving are one continuous motion, where words no longer fall to the ground, but rise as wings of command, where your breath itself becomes a prayer that never ceases, even in silence. This is the continuum of supply, the unending flow of good that has no beginning and no end. You may think of it as a fountain, but it is more than that. It is the very breath of God inhaling through you, and exhaling as the abundance of your world. From this day forward, let the remembrance guide your living. When you rise in the morning, speak the psalm not as ritual but as identity. When you meet the world, let your words be few but full, your silence radiant with knowing. And when you lay down at night, bless the day without judgment. You will sleep not in exhaustion but in reverence. You will wake and the world will look different, not because it has changed, but because you have remembered. And now as you let those words linger in the quiet, imagine them leaving your mouth as light, moving into the unseen, circling the globe, blessing everyone and everything they touch before returning home to you multiplied. This is how divine supply circulates, outward in love, inward in blessing, forever and ever without end. The covenant is sealed. The rhythm is established. The law is alive. You have spoken your psalm. You have awakened the current. From this day forward, everything that concerns you will prosper. Everything you touch will multiply. And every need will meet its answer before you even call. For this is the eternal continuum of supply, and you are its living expression, and so it is. World without end. Amen.